Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stories from the Edge. We've got Ed Soo Hoo sitting in the hot seat again, telling us another set of stories. Looking forward to seeing what he's got up for us today. But I want everyone to remember, Ed has been around the industry for a short time, and he's got a lot of tricks, he's got a lot of tips, and he's done a lot of things. He's had the opportunity to try some things that maybe seem a little off center for a second, but they end up in the right place. Ed, I'm looking forward to another great one. What do you got for us today?
Well, speaking of off center, it's really kind of interesting. It's off center. It's not expected, and in
Right.
many ways unorthodox.
Okay.
Right. So today's story is really around what I title "Welcome to the Show."
Interesting. That's a baseball reference.
Yeah, it's a baseball vernacular, right? When you're in the big leagues, right? The National League or American League, and you graduate from the minor leagues, right? They call it the show.
Right. Yep.
So I started my sales career way back as a small ISV in New Hampshire, right? Selling mini computers, IBM and Wang, mini computers to wholesalers, kind of
Right.
class B baseball, right? Sandlot, learn a lot. After 5 years of long bus rides and small crowds, I moved to a global hardware company. And we sold, mini computers. And my first job there was selling to the federal government. Still kind of small pond, like customers like the General Services Administration, GSA, FDIC. Hmm, some companies you may have heard of, like the Navy, the Marines, the Army, and the Air Force.
Small
And I'm
guys.
working out of small ones. And I was working out of the office in Oakland, California. So I cut my teeth on this. I call it the AAA or the minor leagues, medium-sized accounts. And I learned a ton of how to prepare and get ready for the show.
Yeah.
One day, I get a call from the San Francisco office, the big office, 3 stories filled with what I call the Ps, EVP, SVP, RVP, VP. And they heard about me and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to move to the San Francisco commercial sales office. This is the show." Right? All the big dogs are there. The executives decided that they wanted me to take on an account where
Okay.
the current rep was making tons of money and they wanted to split her territory to make sure that the account got the appropriate amount of attention. So
This
I was
doesn't always go well when you split accounts like this.
no, so I the account handoff was not really smooth. I pretty much had to figure out things on my own. So the
Right.
account was called the State Compensation Insurance Fund, or SCIF. It's a quasi-government account, part private, part government, and they had 36 offices providing services for workmen's compensation insurance. So
Okay.
if you have a disability or something like that, so they did it for the entire state of California, 36 offices. And it's a great install base, a really good run rate of business. It's kind of a retention account. And they want the Ps wanted me to retain and expand the business.
The
So I
peas.
took on the account. I'm ready to go. And I took it on mid fiscal year. And my quota for a half a year was only $1 million.
Only.
Yeah, only $1 million at the time, right? So the senior exec goes, "Oh, okay, Ed, now since you're the new guy,
Hmm.
we're going to set up a meeting to introduce you to the top dogs at Skiff."
Okay.
And the meeting was a big to-do. We're going to the Skiff headquarters, mucky mucks on both sides. And the room looked like a meeting you would see in the UN, right? Everybody's kind of titles, protocols, peers. We go through introductions. And the EVP goes, "This is your new account executive, Ed Soo Hoo." The head guy, Mike G,
Okay.
a warm smile. "Welcome, Ed." Then the smile goes away. "You should know that we are not happy with your company, and we're looking to replace you with HP. Your company has fallen short on expectations. You haven't done this, you haven't done that." He pretty much went what I call Khrushchev on me. So it goes from a history standpoint, in the early 60s, a UN meeting, Khrushchev, representing the USSR at the time, was basically complaining to the UN. And for emphasis, he took his shoe off and started banging on the table to emphasize his dissatisfaction with the missiles being in Turkey and the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Clever me, I surmised that Mike was not happy.
Way to catch a hint there, Soo Hoo.
So his direct reports, all six of them, were in the room as well, and they all had their arms folded across their chest.
Right.
Right? Not a good scene, not a good situation. Mike G finally finished and said, "So, Ed, what are you guys going to do about it?" A little bit of silence on the room, and all the P's, all four of them, turned their heads and just looked at me and didn't say boo. Mike's words kind of echoed in my head. I'm like, oh my God, he's not happy. He's not. What are what are you guys going to do? Oh, gee whiz, right?
Well, what
All
do
of,
you think are you going to say, Ed Soo
yeah,
Hoo?
all of 42 minutes in the role and into the account, I said, okay. I replied, I go, Mike, I understand and I hear what you're saying. So I would like to suggest another meeting with you and your team in 2 weeks. During the 2 weeks, I would like to meet with your teams to get more details about your concerns to then update you on how we will resolve your issues. A little bit of silence. Mike goes, okay, 2 weeks. And the meeting breaks up. That's it, right? We're all kind of shuffling out. All the P's look at me like, good luck, buddy. So I get back to the office. I go all the plans, all of the POs, all of the commits, and I view them with the team.
Mhm.
2 weeks go by. We're in the conference room again with Mike and staff. And Mike
Staff.
goes,
The entourage. The
yeah,
staff.
the entourage is there. And Mike goes,
Right.
Ed, what do you have to share with us?
And the brilliance?
And I said, Mike, I got bupkis. And he looks at me incredulously and says, what do you mean by that? I said, Mike, I cannot share anything with you. And why is that? I said, Mike, in order for me to understand your concerns, I needed to chat with your team. I never got a call back from any one of your team to set up that time to chat. Whoops. The team of six, they were all in the room. They started to fidget. Oh,
Uh-huh.
whiz, right? Somebody's going to get called out, right? Mike looked around the room and said, who on my team did not get back to you? I said, Mike, I'm not going to say. You know your team better than I do. I'm just telling you what happened. And what felt like an eternity, Mike goes, thanks, Ed. Please leave the room for a few minutes. Walked out the room. I'm going like, oh boy, pulled out a stick of gum. I'm going like, oh, this is going to be fun, right? And I'm chewing the gum as fast as I can, like, oh my God, oh my God. And then after 5 minutes, I get a call back. Mike calls me back in the room. He goes, okay, you now have the meetings with all of my direct reports over the next week. I said, oh, gee, thanks, Mike. So over the next 3 weeks, I go through all the SCIF meetings.
Mhm.
And it felt like marriage counseling sessions, right? You said this, you said that, you didn't say it the right way, and all these things, right? We finally figured out what was wrong. And at the end of the 3 weeks, we executed what we call the SAVE plan for SCIF. 3 weeks later, meeting again, was sitting with Mike and his team. Mike goes, okay, so what is the sit rep? Mike, this is what we uncovered and this is how we fixed it. Our SAVE plan had addressed the following areas in support, maintenance, product quality, misperceptions, and miscommunications. And I go through everything. He goes, huh, okay. My team tells me actually that they're happy now. I said, gee, Mike, that's what I live for. Right?
All you did was marriage counseling. How are they happy already?
You got to listen to them. You got to let them talk and puke and do all those things, right? And then let them say, I'm listening to you. I think we can resolve this. I think I said something, but it was misinterpreted. So we kind of fixed the communication issues.
Right,
So the
right.
lessons I learned from that was be upfront and not point fingers, right? The team actually thanked me for not calling them out. So building a, kind of a stabilizing a relationship, and then fast forward 3 months. I'm walking down the hall. David, head of MIS, back then it was called Management Information Systems, right? He goes, "Hey Ed, we're thinking of upgrading for all 36 sites to your next model." And I'm going like, oh. Now the easy thing to say would be like, absolutely, I'll get you a quote like that,
Right.
right? I said, I said, Mike, that's actually not a good idea.
Wait a second.
I told him no. He goes, "Why don't you want to upgrade to the next model? I thought you would be excited." I said, "Well, actually, Mike, I've been reading a lot about your company, your growth, and all the challenges you face. The challenge is not so much the next model. The challenge is you're growing at 15% year over year. By the time we get to the second year, you're going to outgrow that model and you're going to go through that
Right.
installation again." And I said, I really want you to rethink that. And he goes, "So what do you recommend?" I said, "Well, I would actually recommend you go whole hog, go the whole Megillah." He goes, "What?" I said, "Get our biggest, baddest machine that we have right now, all 36 sites. One time pain, long term gain." He just looks at me and goes, "Our fiscal year ends in 7 months. I said, "Yes, I know. Can you do all 36 in 7 months so we can write it off for that year?" I said, "Don't know. Let me get back to you." Got back to the team. I said, "We have an opportunity, 36 sites. I don't know how we kind of figure this out. Let's triage this. Let's do this.
Mhm.
Let's do that." Right. We figured it all out. We formed the plan. We presented the plan to David. Long story short, we got a single page purchase order, non compete, 3-year contract, $45 million total contract value, all in. It was an amazing result.
Paycheck. I mean,
Paycheck.
result.
Well,
Yes, result. That's exactly what I was thinking.
so I became the worldwide sales leader, right? Accolades left, right, and center, and all the hoo-ha that comes with the ticker tape parade, the whole 9 yards, right? The picture in green and red with there, worldwide sales leader. Wow, really cool stuff. The result? Quota went up before the end of my fiscal year. That $1 million ended up being $16 million. I still made club, but I
I was
didn't
gonna
make
say, I
chairman.
was like, you still did all right, Ed.
Yeah. Then I built out the plan for the next year, what it would look like, right? The forecast. Double the revenue. Double the revenue, right? They took me off commissions, but that's another story. So a year later, I'm in Dave's office around 5 o'clock at night, and Dave looked at me. He goes, "Ed, we want to do a memory upgrade for all 30." I said, "Yes, I know. You have my proposal." He goes, "I'm not happy with your proposal." I said, "Well," he goes, "Look, it's 5 o'clock. It's the end of the day for me. I want you to really think about this. If you were in my chair, what would you think and what would you do?" I said, "Well, gee, Mike." He goes, "Tell you what, I'm leaving today, right now. Got my hat and coat. I'm out of here. Sit in my chair and call me back tomorrow." I said, "What?" He goes, "Good night, Ed." So I do it exactly what he asked. I sat down in his chair, 5 o'clock. I'm going looking around his desk, picture of the family, dog. It's really kind of cool. I look around the desk and I'm going like, "Oh, there's my proposal in a file folder. That's pretty cool. And right next to it is my competition's proposal. Well, that's kind of cool." And I go like, "Huh." So I took that input and I said, I revised my proposal. I submitted it the next day. Dave goes, "That's good enough." And I go, he goes, "I just wanted you just to work a little bit harder." He goes, "You didn't have to match the price," which you didn't, "but I'm okay with that." He goes, "I want you to be successful too." And it was really kind of fascinating. Here was a client that really wanted to give me the opportunity to serve him. So the lesson that I learned was serve your client, hear their pain, recommend the right plan that's right for them, not what they think they need, but what you believe they should have. And sometimes you have to walk away and say, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea with what you're asking for. So let me think about it and come back to you with something else. And the relationship was so, I wouldn't say strong, but built up over a period of time via credibility
Yeah.
that it allowed me to have that relationship. So welcome to the show allowed me to break out and become a worldwide sales leader, to be recognized after this. But you know what? All that didn't mean anything unless my client absolutely loved me. And that's what really motivates me more than anything.
Ed, I call that the next phone call. Great, we do business now, and okay, whatever. But I want the next phone call. How do I earn that?
Yeah.
And that's what I've always got in the back of my mind. And obviously, you got a couple of phone calls. You did the work.
Yep.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
I love the ticker tape parade. I want to see pictures of that when you get the chance. Well, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us on this edition of Stories from the Edge. We'll have another one from the master, from the storyteller, from the catalyst, Ed Soo Hoo, later on. Bye, everybody.